Hello and welcome back to the Hoops Crush podcast. It is officially trade deadline week. There's a lot to talk about today. As always, I am joined with Eric Brandt, also known as, of course, HoopsJock on Twitter. Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Brady. How was your weekend?
It was pretty good. Can't complain. Not too shabby. But
Are you,
man,
ex- are you
wait, go
excited
ahead.
for the trade deadline?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Although I will say, for whatever reason, it seems like every team, and this seems to happen a lot, but it seems like every team is holding their cards to like we're not doing anything at the deadline. So I am a little worried that
We'll
this
see.
could, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm a little worried it's going to be a quiet deadline, but it feels like the NBA never disappoints. So I'm assuming that things will kick up as we get closer.
But like every trade provides you with more content, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Trade
Opportunities.
deadline is fantastic for content.
So
Absolutely.
after the trade deadline, make sure you are subscribed to the Crushables YouTube channel so you can see all his rebuilds after trades happen.
But of course we did. Yeah, that would be greatly appreciated. So thank you for that quick little plug. But of course we did have some Blazers games. I don't even know how many it's been since we last talked. We tried to record earlier or later in the week last week. Unfortunately, we just couldn't. But we are here to talk about the deadline for the most part. But we'll try to go over these Blazers. Like when? Do you remember the last game we talked about?
Yeah, it would have been. Let's see. It would have been the Rockets overtime game.
Man, it's been quite.
I
Okay, it's
think.
been
Oh
like.
no, wait. I'm a week off. We didn't talk about Dame's return, right?
No, we definitely have not. That's the game
Okay,
I
so
remember the most at this point.
it was the Rockets then. Yeah,
Yeah, so we lose to the Spurs, we lose to the Bulls. We beat the 76ers pretty good, 104 to 130. That game never felt close whatsoever. The Blazers just kind of ran away with it, and great win. But the game I want to talk about the most, because I want to talk about as much trade deadline stuff today as possible. And I was not able to watch either Nuggets game. The Nuggets game was on NBA TV last night, so I was like, "Oh, might be able to watch it." No, couldn't watch it.
blacked out.
Blacked out again. So, but the Bucks and the Blazers, of course, Dame returns to town. They absolutely botched. It looked like, which I didn't know exactly what happened. It seemed like they botched Dame's, tribute video. Apparently, they didn't show it at the beginning, which is absolutely insane to me. Really, really unfortunate. But the Blazers spoil Dame's return, and man, something I did not have on my bingo card was how electric Scoot Henderson was in that first quarter. He absolutely stole the show to start things off. Bodied Giannis at one point at the rim. Just Scoot has really come along, and I'm just really happy to see it.
Yeah, I was actually at the game. Brady
That's awesome.
went
Oh yeah,
to
so
it.
you can tell me exactly how it went.
Yeah. So the tribute was fine. It it got off to a super weird start because so we're all anticipating, well, what are they going to do for Dame, And they start the introductions of the opposing team, and they introduce Malik Beasley, and then you're thinking, okay, they're going to announce Dame last, right? And then they announce him second, and
Oh my
so
gosh.
the announcer Mark Mason's like six-time, like whatever, going through the whole spiel, and then it's like Dame, and it's like, oh wait, why is he going second? Like it doesn't make any sense. And then so the crowd gives him a huge ovation and stuff, and we're waiting to see if they were going to do a video or not. And a lot of people have said like there's no time to do it before the game. That's not how these tributes work. But OKC, in their tribute for Russell Westbrook when his first game came back to town, they actually did a thing before the game. It was a national TV game, so it was the same type of situation. They would have the same time constraints, all that kind of stuff. The the ovation wasn't like a planned set amount of time, so they could have played the video right before they announced him or right after they announced him or whatever. I think the crowd would have went absolutely bananas. They gave him a really good ovation, and they had the tribute video during the first two timeouts. There was one kind of about his playing career, and then one about more of his philanthropy and community type stuff. And they were both good videos. I just felt like it kind of lost its luster after um, they kind of missed the mark. I thought if they would have done it, just shown one of those videos prior to the game starting, I think it would have been perfect. I mean, people will say I'm just finding something to to gripe about, but I really feel like OKC set the standard with the way they handled the Westbrook one, and I was hoping for something similar to that, and I was just a little disappointed with it. But overall, it was a great, fun night and a great game too. And what do you know, Brady? It comes down to the end. There's multiple possessions where everyone in the crowd is just a buzz like, "Oh my god, is Dame gonna get the last shot, a game winner? Is he gonna
If
have a
Brooke
chance to
Lopez, though.
is he gonna have a chance to win the game in Portland on his return?" Like, that would have just, whether he made the shot or not, it would have just been so fitting. And
Yeah.
freaking Brooke Lopez takes like two horrible threes down the stretch, like step back threes, and just completely ruins what could have been an all-time cool NBA moment, just seeing Dame with a chance to beat Portland in his return game home.
Yeah, that part really sucked. I mean, like Dame passes it to Brooke, and I was expecting Brooke to pass it back to him, and Brooke says, "Nope, this is my shot." Just takes it. Just like, yeah, it made the script was right there. Like it
Right.
made so much sense for Dame to take that
I
last
know
shot.
you couldn't have written it any better than that, right?
You really couldn't have. It was actually crazy, but yeah, we end up winning this game. I know Scoot didn't get put back in the game when he was having a great first quarter, which was really disappointing. Which that was something a lot of people talked about. But hey,
Well, to be clear, he had 15 in the first half, looked amazing. He did get into the game in the second half, but had two quick turnovers, and they pulled him and didn't play him again.
yeah, so really unfortunate. And then of course, unless you have anything else to add about that game, we played the Denver Nuggets back to back, and we lose both of them. So I don't know if you have
Yeah.
anything to add about those games.
I mean, I felt like they competed pretty well in the Denver games, especially the second one was a lot of fun. They had the lead until late in the third quarter. And yeah, I just thought it was fun watching the younger players compete with the defending champs and take them down to a close game.
Yeah, because I saw at one point, just watching the score, that the Blazers were up pretty big in the second one, but obviously it was never going to truly hold. The Nuggets are just too good of a team.
Right.
So, do you want to just get straight into the trade deadline stuff and
Sure,
talk
let's
about
do it.
whatever we need to talk
Yeah.
about? So,
Oh, well, real quick, let me just mention, with as far as the Blazers go, though, have to mention this guy. We haven't talked about him yet. DeAndre Ayton's been playing
oh yeah, he's
very
been
well
really good.
lately. I Before we get, if we did who's crushing or whatever, I just want to mention, in terms of Blazers, DeAndre Ayton has been playing really well, and it's nice to see him actually attack the rim and pass well. He's doing really well in the short roll. It's just good to see him actually stringing together a nice stretch of games.
Yeah, definitely. That was someone I actually forgot to put on my list. DeAndre Ayton has been really, really good. So I don't know if you want to start around the NBA or about our Blazers. Like, where do you want to start this?
Let's. It's up to you. I'll let you choose.
All right, so I
I usually.
actually decided to cook up 5 trades
Okay.
for around the NBA, and one of them does involve one of our Blazers. Now I didn't do the Brogdon thing because we kind of talked about that already, and Brogdon could go somewhere else, but I think the Knicks just make so much sense. But I do, like I said, I have some other trades, so I'm gonna read
Well,
them off, or go
before
ahead.
you get to that, did you hear the Brogdon stuff from today?
Oh yeah, I guess we can start with that, shouldn't we? Before we go any further, uh, that the Blazers, see themselves as the Rockets, and they're
Yeah.
gonna. Brogdon wants an extension, wants to stay, and I know there's people saying that we should keep Brogdon. We shouldn't trade him if for a pick in this draft anyway. Like, to me, it makes no sense to keep him. It really does not. I don't understand the philosophy of keeping him. I don't even know why he wants. I know why he wants to stay here, because if he goes somewhere else, he's probably not going to get paid as much. I think our organization is one of those teams that would. And I really hope Joe Cronin doesn't decide to extend him. That would just be the worst thing to ever happen, in my opinion. And I know some people will love it or whatever, but I think that'd be just absolutely stupid. But yeah, we need to move Brogdon. We need to be focused on the future, not Brogdon. When we first got Brogdon here, I never knew, I think most of us knew he wasn't staying very long. and that should continue to be the case. Please don't resign him, move him. I don't care what. Just get one first. That's all we're asking for at this point. I don't care. He just doesn't need to be here any longer.
Yeah, for me, Brogdon's a really good player, but he's too good for what we need out of a guard right now. If he played a different position like Jeremy, you can maybe justify it. But for me, I just think you can't really bench him and not play him at all. And I believe that a mentor can be someone who doesn't play or someone who barely plays, or like an emergency third point guard or something. If someone's hurt, can step in. And I mean, we saw for years the Miami Heat had Udonis Haslem on the end of their bench making a minimum contract, and he was their veteran leader guy. The Warriors over the last handful of years have had Andre Iguodala on their bench, not playing much, but just there for veteran leadership and kind of an extension of the coaching staff. You can find those guys. Damian Lillard always talks about how his first couple years in the league, he had guys like Earl Watson and Ronnie Price, like guys who never played for us really, but were there instrumental in helping him learn the ropes of the NBA. So you can get those guys. There's like a DJ Augustine out there right now in free agency. You could just go sign him and for the minimum, and he can be your little veteran mentor. You can tell him you're bringing him in to strictly to help scoot out or whatever. And then also we have 3 former NBA point guards on our staff, our coaching staff, including Pooh Jeter. We have Scott Brooks and Chauncey Billups, of course, who is an NBA champion, Finals MVP. Like, do we really need another guy that helps those guys out? I know it helps to have a player that does that, but once again, I just feel like it doesn't have to be someone who plays 20 plus minutes a game or 30 plus minutes a game and is as good as Malcolm Brogdon, because I think no matter how they try to work it, it just takes away touches and opportunities and growth from the players we need to grow.
Yeah, I personally would like to see Brogdon go help a contender. He just doesn't make any sense in at where we're at as a team. It makes no sense, and we're not going to be anywhere near being a team that makes sense for him anytime soon either. Like it just there's nothing anyone could tell me that would convince me he should stay. Like literally, there's just nothing. No, I wouldn't listen to anybody about it. He needs to go, and not because I don't like the guy. It's simply because he makes no sense here. He just doesn't. And he never did to begin with. Once he got moved here, I didn't think he'd play at all for us. I thought he'd be moved immediately. But it did make sense to let him play to, up his value because he did have the injury thing. But he's done that, and that's exactly what he wanted. And he's done that. He's accomplished that. And I do think you can cash in on a first-round pick like you did with Josh Hart. I think that's easily plausible. So,
well, and two, we've kind of needed him this year with injuries, but make no mistake, in a normal scenario, we wouldn't have so many injuries to the 3 guards. They'd all be healthy, and so hopefully it's not the case moving forward to where one of them's always hurt and we do need another guard. But I mean that would create a different problem, and I don't think Malcolm necessarily solves that either, because we'd have bigger issues if we can't keep those guys healthy. But we have kind of needed him, and it's been nice to get him back established as a quality player in this league and look like he's healthy on the court, based on the trade falling apart due to injuries. He was supposed to go to the Clippers. The Clippers were going to give up a first round pick, albeit the 30th pick, and expiring contract and stuff. So it was basically the same kind of trade that we're asking for, right, from Brogdon right now. And so it was good to have him on the team for that reason. But if Sharp's back in a couple weeks after the All-Star break and Brogdon's still on this roster and Scoot's playing well and needing more minutes and Anthony's still killing it and stuff, like I don't see how it can work with all 4 of those guards on the roster. And I think people are forgetting that Shaedon Sharp isn't a part of things right now, and we're not going to want to limit his touches and his abilities and stuff, because look what happened to him last year when we gave him more of the rope and keys to the offense. He blossomed. And I feel like that's the same thing with Scoot this year. You just need to give him more and more responsibility and keep increasing that amount of responsibility he has, and I think it would be a shame if we kind of skirted around that just to keep Malcolm on as a mentor. No matter how good of a mentor he is, I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, move Malcolm Brogdon and let's move on. It just
Mhm.
needs to happen. In my personal opinion, I know people disagree, but again, nothing it would convince me otherwise. But that all being said, here's the first trade that I have. I have five, like I said. So these
All right,
are one
I'm
of them.
excited.
One trade involves the Blazers. This one does not, though. So the first one, starting off a little simple here. This has just been, which I'm not too surprised by this because I think both these guys would make sense for the Timberwolves. So this does involve the Timberwolves. Of course, they're interested in getting a point guard. So apparently they have offered 4 seconds for Tyus Jones, and that has not been accepted yet, which it may be eventually, but my first idea was Monte Morris gets sent to, Monte Morris gets sent to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Kyle Anderson. Their contracts are almost exactly the same, and then the Pistons also get a 2024 second and a 2029 second. Of course, Detroit's been looking for some more veteran help, so I think Kyle Anderson accomplishes that. Plus, you get 2 second-round picks for Monte Morris. So that is the first idea that I had. Now, Kyle Anderson is on an expiring contract, so I don't know how much he'd want to stay. I don't know what Detroit's plans really were. They were trying to get Levine, which I don't absolutely love for them, but I don't know. That's the first idea that I had. I mean, the main thing is Minnesota's accomplished getting themselves a point guard that they've been looking for.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they value Anderson versus um, Monte Morris. I think that's probably about like the minimum you could expect to like type of player that would improve them. Because Slomo still plays a decent amount, still has a role in that team.
You could
So
also change it for like I also almost did it with like Shake Milton and Nickeil Alexander Walker instead, and then
yeah,
maybe one more salary filler. You could do that as well.
right. Yeah,
But
I don't think that's bad. And unfortunately for them, they don't have a first they could trade, so they're probably not getting Tyus Jones. They don't
yeah,
have many young players unless I mean Leonard Miller's been killing it in the G League and hasn't really got an opportunity in the NBA. So unless the Wizards, someone in the Wizards front office is like, oh wow, we really need, or not the Wizards, the Pistons, we really need uh, that that guy. They don't really have many assets to trade outside those seconds. So yeah, I think they might have to set their sights a little lower on a Monte Morris versus Tyus Jones. But yeah.
so my next trade involves the 76ers. Of course, Joel Embiid is going to miss quite a bit of time. So I would assume Morey will be looking for some help while he's gone, whether it's for another big or just another player in general. They do have B-Ball Paul still. They got Mo Bamba over there. But here's the idea. I think there's been some rumors around DeMar DeRozan to Philadelphia. So Marcus Morris's expiring contract, Robert Covington's expiring contract, Jaden Springer, and then that 2026 first that has a lot of crazy protections on it with OKC, Houston, and LA. DeMar DeRozan is on an expiring contract. If I'm the Philadelphia 76ers, I'm not trading that 2029 Clippers pick. There's absolutely
Mhm.
no way I would do that. But if you could trade that 2026 first, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. And then I don't know what Chicago would be looking to get for DeRozan. He's still a really solid player, don't get me wrong, but I definitely think he's a unique fit on most teams. And I think Philadelphia could use him right now. You could convince me that this could be Tobias Harris instead. You could do that as well. But I think Chicago would have to include more money. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the trade. DeMar DeRozan basically to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I just recently did a video talking about the odds, and DeMar DeRozan was one of the players I talked about, and I actually thought that was the most likely place for him to end up. So I do like that. We talked about this several times here on Hoops Crush, but I still am fascinated to see what Morey does this deadline, and I guess a little bit might have to wait to see. Embiid's supposed to get a surgery sometime this week, and that'll give a little clearer um, timeline for his return. if it's not going to be this year, I think they might just punt on this season and um, use that cap space this summer to 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 try and sign a big time free agent. But if they get someone like DeRozan for the package you suggested, I think that's a no brainer for them because they could then have his bird rights to re-sign him. But if they wanted to use the cap space on someone else, they could just waive him and release his rights, his hold, and then use that cap space. So I think a really good player on an expiring contract kind of fits both scenarios for them. So maybe they'll play it that way. But DeRozan is one of the better guys that fits that criteria and that you might not have to give a ton up for. But at the same time, the Bulls have been kind of playing themselves back into the play-in area, and Levine is now out for the year, but they played pretty well when he was out last time and actually got back into things without him. So do they have false hope of making the playoffs again this year and actually like keep the team together and trade for someone? So that's another fascinating team to watch that I have no idea what they're actually going to do. They've needed to blow that thing up for years, but they're one of those teams that's tried the rebuild thing several times. I mean, it's been pretty much since Jordan. They had a little bit of success in the early 2010s when they had, Derrick Rose before he got hurt and Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, that kind of team. Jimmy Butler was there for a while, but outside of that, they just have not really had a ton of success with rebuilds. So I think they're kind of gun shy, even though there's new front office there, of doing another rebuild. But I think it's pretty much necessary. I just don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on it or not.
Yeah, if I'm a Chicago fan, this package would not excite me very much. I'm one of those people that undervalues DeMar DeRozan quite a bit just because I think his fit on most teams is a little it's not the best, I guess. So
Yeah, it's wonky because he's
yeah.
not a floor spacer or anything.
Yeah, so I feel like Chicago would probably want more, which wouldn't surprise me. And if this was the trade that was on the table, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't take it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not expecting this to happen. It was just an idea that I had.
Mhm.
The next one is a trade with two teams that have made a couple trades together in the past. We're sending Rui Hachimura back to the Wizards. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be funny if they sent Rui back to the Wizards, though. Okay, so obviously the Lakers. There's a lot of weird things going on right now. LeBron James is sending all kinds of signals that the Lakers need to do something.
He's going to the Knicks.
Yeah, talking about that. I think it's just to put pressure, obviously, on the Lakers. Will they cave? We'll see. Obviously, it sounds like LeBron wants DeJounte Murray. I don't know if that's going to happen because Austin Reeves, I think, is probably going to have to be in that trade. And I just feel like the Lakers aren't going to do it. But I guess we'll see. Here's the idea that I had, though. So if the Timberwolves can't get Tyus Jones, here's the trade that I had. So we're sitting Gabe Vincent, which you could convince me it should be somebody else, but this was the salary that I had. Gabe Vincent and Jalen Hood-Schifino and 2 second-round picks to the Wizards for Tyus Jones. Not my favorite trade in the world, but Gabe Vincent's barely played for the Lakers this year. I don't think the Wizards would have any problem having Vincent's contract for a few years. Maybe he plays himself to some value as well. And Hood-Schifino would be a guy that maybe the Wizards take a chance on. And if the Lakers felt pressure to make a move, would they panic? So basically, Hood-Schifino is that first-round pick for Tyus Jones, but not really at the same time. So
yeah,
probably my least favorite. Probably my least favorite one that I've made so far, though.
I haven't really thought about the Lakers being in on Tyus Jones, but Tyus is one of those guys that he fits on almost every roster because, he was a backup for years. I felt like he was the best backup point guard in the league because he's someone who never turns the ball over and passes the ball well and sets up the offense well, can shoot a little bit, all that kind of stuff. So I think he's a really good fit for the Lakers. If 4 seconds though from Minnesota wasn't enough, that would all come down to how they feel about Jalen Hood-Schifino. I really like that guy coming out of the draft. He obviously hasn't really gotten a chance to play much for the Lakers this year, so who knows if the Wizards value him or not. But that's a very interesting trade.
I'll save the Blazers one for last. Let's do the one that's been talked about a lot. Miles Bridges. I know that's a lot of people's least favorite person, but we're sending him to the Suns because that's been talked about a lot. For Nasir Little and Bol plus 2 second-round picks because the Suns basically have literally
That's
no
all I could
assets
trade.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Little and Bol to match Miles Bridges' salary, but Bridges heads to Phoenix for basically a couple seconds. Nasir Little also could be a player that could fit in Charlotte for a while too. He's still a solid, young player. But yeah, that's the other trade that I had before we get to the
Yeah.
Blazers one.
I kind of like Nas to Charlotte just to kind of take the pressure off him having to be like better than he is or good on a good team. Because like he had that in Portland for a while, and now he goes to Phoenix, and they're expecting him to come in and be good like every time. You don't really have a lot of leeway to learn and stuff like that. So I think he just needs minutes. I think so. I think Charlotte would be a good situation for him. Um, Bridges is I mean, obviously he's polarizing. I would not want him on the Blazers. I would throw a fit. I would not be happy. I would absolutely blast whatever organization trades for him. But if you're strictly thinking about it from basketball terms, it's a home run for the Suns if they get him for that low of a price because this guy has been playing out of his mind this year. He just had 36 points tonight. And just, I mean, he's been really good and he would be really good mixed with those players on that team, I believe. And man, they would get a huge boost on the court. I just don't know if it's worth all the hassles that it's going to create in terms of fans being upset off the court.
All right, my final one involves the Portland Trail Blazers. It is a 3-team trade. So here's a 3-team trade. It involves us moving Jeremy Grant. So if he were to be moved, which it doesn't sound like he will be, but if he is moved. So Jeremy Grant, in my mind, makes sense on 2 different teams, that being the Dallas Mavericks or the Sacramento Kings. I did this trade with the Sacramento Kings. So basically, so I'm going to have to say this in the best way I possibly can. But Jeremy Grant, of course, is headed to the Sacramento Kings in this situation, while Portland is getting Harrison Barnes and Malik Monk plus the 2026 and 2028 first-round pick. But they are immediately flipping Malik Monk to you could pretty much plug any team in here, but the team I decided to go with was your Orlando Magic for a lottery-protected 2024 first-round pick. So basically the Blazers are netting 3 firsts for Jeremy Grant. That would be a home run. Probably a little bias on my end, but
yeah,
that would be that's the trade that I had. You could even convince me that maybe Sacramento only sends 1 first, 2026 or 2028, whatever. But yeah, so that's it's a trade I did for Jeremy Grant.
yeah. I think realistically, if we could get 3 even protected firsts for Jeremy, that's pretty good value. Wouldn't really want to take Harrison's contract, so hopefully there's a third team for him as well.
That's the one part that sucks about it, which is why I feel like maybe you could say 2 firsts because of the Barnes contract.
Right. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the Blazers are even going to explore those kind of moves. But I think Sacramento, they're a team that was rumored to be in on Levine. I think Jeremy would be a really good fit next to Sabonis. But I don't think we're going to entertain it. I also think Jeremy would be phenomenal fit on Dallas, man. I think he would fit in perfectly. I think he would take that team to another level. But they just do not have enough assets. They can trade 1 first-round pick right now, a 2027 first. You can maybe get some creativity with some swaps or something. They're not going to trade Derek Lively as part of that package because they're obviously getting Grant to pair with him in the front court. So they have a couple other young guys like Jaden Hardy and um,
Josh
Josh Green,
Green,
stuff like
Prosper.
that. Oh, Max Prosper, yeah. None of those guys are like, oh, that's gonna put this trade over the top type of guys, in my opinion. So they're like close, kind of, if they give up that unprotected first and a couple swaps. But I just don't think they have quite enough to get it done. Now, if you waited till the off season, though, if they were still interested in Jeremy, they if they made the playoffs this year, their pick would convey to New York, and then New York or Dallas would then free up their 2025 pick to be able to trade. It would still be able to trade their 2027, and then after the draft, the 2031 pick becomes available. So then they have 3 firsts to kind of play with. And I'm not saying we get all 3 of those, but
Yeah.
like you can maybe get 2 of those from them. And so Jeremy, I think with Dallas is the one situation where it might make sense to wait until the offseason. I don't think waiting for Brogdon trades makes sense till the offseason when he's an expiring contract and teams get him for less time and risk him being a rental. But yeah, the Jeremy Grant situation is interesting too. I'm fully aware they're not going to trade him, but as we've talked about many times on the show, I think they should, but they're not going to.
Yeah, and of course, Jeremy Grant is not as dire as Brogdon is, because Brogdon, his value, I assume, declines as the contract keeps, only 2 years left on it. So, a year and a half once we're at the deadline. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's why I think it makes sense to obviously move Brogdon. While it sucks if we don't trade Grant, but it's not the worst thing in the world because there's plenty of time to do it. But it just seems like the market would shape up really good right now for him to be moved. But that was my 5 trade ideas. Not yeah, so those are my 5 trade ideas.
I like them, man. Good creativity, and they're somewhat realistic ones, outside of maybe the Grant one,
Yeah,
but yeah, good job on those.
thank you.
Um, let's talk about like some specific teams then.
Okay.
Let's just kind of go through it. Do you think, let's start in the East. Do you think the Celtics are going to kind of just stand pat? They're kind of cruising. They have a 5-game lead on the Cavs in second place, and the Bucks are tied with the Cavs. Do you think they're just going to kind of go at it with the roster they have, or do you see them making a
I
move?
feel like they'll make one minor move. They obviously can't do like a ton.
Yeah.
Obviously Brad Stevens has been pretty damn good at making moves though. Has been really articulate with what moves he's made. I feel like they did something minor at the deadline last year, but I can't remember. Do you remember if they did something? Maybe they didn't. But I can't. I don't know if they even have the salaries for this, which they probably don't. I know Kelly Olynyk has been mentioned as an idea for the Boston Celtics to go get.
Hmm.
Uh, and I know there's been some other names they're interested in. They'll probably be looking for like cheaper contracts, but because they're not going to be able to get anybody too crazy, they're not gonna be able to. I don't think they're going to be able to match a bunch of salaries. So it'll be probably something minor from Boston. I would not be surprised if they did do a little something, something.
Yeah, agreed. I'm trying to find a way to look up transactions from last year, but on the fly like this, probably gonna
Yeah,
take too long.
I can't remember. I feel like they did something, but I don't
Oh,
remember.
here I got something. All right, so yeah, we got the KD trade. Clippers got Plumlee. Uh, 76ers got Jalen McDaniels.
We got
Clippers got Eric Gordon.
we got Thibault.
Celtics got Muscala. That's what it
That's what it
was.
was. That's what
Yeah,
thought they did something. So it
very
probably
minor. Yeah,
probably something similar to that where they get
yeah,
someone like that.
yeah. They got 2 future seconds and Justin Jackson. That's what it was. Yeah. So yeah, I could definitely see something like that. All right. How about the Cavs? Do you think the Cavs are
I
Gonna make
actually
a
did
move.
a I actually did a video on them today, talking about what I would do if I was the Cavaliers GM at the deadline. And the one guy that comes to mind for me, and I know they need a wing like really badly, and this is probably not super plausible, but if you could find a way, it depends on what Atlanta's doing. If you could find a way to pry DeAndre Hunter from them,
Hmm.
but I don't know if Cleveland has enough to do it. Like they probably don't. But like if Atlanta was like desperate to get off his contract for whatever reason, maybe you could find a way to get involved in that. But yeah, that would be the guy if I'm the Cavaliers I would try to get, because you're not getting Mikal Bridges, obviously. OG is not available anymore. So DeAndre Hunter would be someone that you could maybe go get using a Coro and some other salary filler, but I don't know, if that's enough to convince the Hawks to send that to Cleveland.
Yeah, one of their problems is they don't have a ton of salary filler unless they include a Coro like Karis LeVert. So a lot of higher price guys are kind of out of it unless they decided to break up part of their core four, which I doubt they're going to do right now.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
today I did Georgia Snang and Okoro because that matches Hunter's salary, and then of
hmm,
course after that though pick equity isn't the best, so it would really
yeah.
Atlanta would have to be like just desperate to get off Hunter's contract, which I don't
Hmm,
think you just salary dump Hunter. So
right. All right. So Dame's team, Milwaukee Bucks, they've been rumored to be looking for a defensive wing or guard or specialist. Do you see any out there that they could acquire?
no, not really. I mean, I just don't know how they pull something off. I know they have Pat's contract, they have Portis's contract. I saw today that a Bobby Portis for Grant Williams swap was discussed or being talked about. So maybe that's something that
I don't see how
happens.
that helps the Bucks though.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, like they can try, but I, d- I don't know. I don't think that grows on trees, unfortunately. If like a dream scenario for them would be Matisse Thybulle. Like if they could get him, that would be awesome. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. See they have the Blazers second round pick this year. For somehow we didn't get that back in the the Dame trade. I still don't know how that didn't happen. But that's currently the 35th pick. So they do have a pick that could maybe be valuable enough as an early second to get someone on the market. I don't know who that would be. Um, maybe they could get like Javon Carter back. They've had him on the team the last couple of years.
PJ
He's now in
Tucker.
Chicago. PJ Tucker would be interesting if the Clippers gave him up. There was rumors they were going to buy him out. I don't understand that at all, but could happen, I guess. Yeah, for the Blazers though, with Thibault, I mean, normally in this situation, I'd say that's a really valuable pick to get back, but they already have currently the 34th and 38th picks or 39th or something in the draft right now. So we already have two picks in that range, and we also have two firsts. Um, plus, if we got one in another trade like Brogdon or something. So the Blazers probably wouldn't value that pick as much as they would if it was for a different draft. So yeah, it's just kind of like a weird situation. Like I think they have just enough. They might even include Marjan for the right player, but I don't know if there's a good trade partner to receive it. You know.
Yeah, excellent, exactly.
All right, and then we got the Knicks are up next. They're currently in fourth, just a game behind Cleveland and Milwaukee. They've been playing fantastic lately, despite losing to the Lakers the other day. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games. I really feel like they still need some sort of scoring or just a good player off their bench, and I think they're pretty solid heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, they're absolutely going to make a move. I don't think they will. I believe they will make a move. They could use some more bench depth, whether that's Brogdon or Clarkson that's been talked about. But of course, LeBron James is being talked about like crazy. It's so funny that Rich Paul and Leon Rose just made up finally after
Yeah.
years.
They had
Like,
to make it public too. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't know what's going on, but yeah. So like LeBron James to the Knicks, like what that would be crazy if that actually happened. By the way, like I would that not. Like I know that guy posted about it, and he's been
hmm
right about LeBron James things in the past. Can you imagine if he was correct again and LeBron just randomly gets sent to the Knicks at the deadline, bro? That would break NBA Twitter.
Dude, that'd be the craziest deadline ever if LeBron is traded. I mean, can you imagine trading LeBron? That's
I
just
know. It just
insane.
sounds wild.
The only way that makes sense is I mean, we saw another LA team in baseball. I don't know if you follow baseball that much, but the Angels decided not to trade Shohei Ohtani
Hmm.
at the deadline last year. Just a complete mega star. Probably could have gotten a haul for him despite him being a free agent at the end of the year. But they decide not to trade him, and then they lose him for nothing at the end of the season.
And
And
didn't they know he wasn't staying either?
I mean, it. I don't think they knew for sure. I think they thought maybe they could re-sign him, but I mean, the Dodgers offered him 700 million or whatever it was. It's insane. So yeah, I I would be absolutely shocked if the Lakers traded LeBron, but if he has told them behind the scenes that he's not coming back or whatever, maybe. But I just feel like the Lakers are too proud of an organization to be the team that trades him. They're going to
Yeah,
make him decide in the offseason to leave on his own.
yeah, for sure.
If they somehow get his son, then they probably think he'll stay anyway. So
Yeah, that's true too.
yeah. All right. And then we're going to talk about the 76ers. The Pacers already made their big trade, but they might make a couple small trades. Then you have the Miami Heat and Orlando Magic. The Magic are definitely going to be making some sort of move, whether that's to consolidate some of their depth into one player or just a minor move to get some shooting or defense or something. I definitely think they're going to do something, but it's kind of hard to know what direction they're
Yeah,
going.
which by the way, I forgot. I don't think I mentioned that Joe Ingles would be sent back to us to match that Malik Monk salary.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't even mention that. But yeah, so
Yeah.
like I think Matt Orlando's gonna be in the market for some shooting. So I think
hmm
Malik Monk is someone that makes sense if he somehow got made available. I know Buddy Hield is potentially available in Indiana, but it also makes sense for the Pacers to potentially keep him because they're kind of trying to contend now with Siakam, and Buddy Hield fits that. Although I believe Buddy Hield is expiring, so I don't know what their plans are with him long term.
Yeah.
So it could make sense to still move him. But yeah, I think Orlando should be in the market for some shooting.
Yeah. And then the only other team in the East I want to talk about is we mentioned them a little bit in one of your trades, but the Detroit Pistons. I just think there's too much smoke for there not to be fire around them doing something really stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
We've heard they're interested in Kyle Kuzma. We've heard they're
Tobias
interested in
Harris,
Tobias Harris, Zach
Levine.
Levine. I think there were some others. Jeremy Grant was mentioned earlier in the year. Um, I feel like they're going to do something dumb to try and get out of being really crappy. And
I don't
kudos
know
to whatever
why.
team just takes advantage of them
This
and
season
gets.
is lost anyway. Just throw
I
the white
know,
flag. Like
right?
I don't think you should
But
make any move. And I still do wonder if Levine decided
yeah,
to.
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, like he's maybe there was some real smoke to him getting traded to Detroit, and Levine's like, no, I'm not doing that.
Uh,
So I'm gonna, say
well,
I'm out for the season.
well, I think that Detroit might trade for him anyway
Oh man, well that would be some.
because
Well, yeah, because they don't need him for this year.
what would it matter this year?
Yeah, that's
That
true.
kind of helps them. They could tank. They probably get him for a cheaper price, and uh, they'd have him next year for some reason. I don't know why they want him,
Oh,
but
bro, if Chicago finds out Detroit is offering one of their core young players
like
like
Jaden Ivey.
Ivy or I know a Sar's been talked about, like
Mhm.
Chicago absolutely has to do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Levine is someone you should have moved anyway, and I don't think a lot of people think he's worth a lot anyway. dude, if the Pistons are trying to do something stupid like that, Chicago absolutely has to take advantage of that. And you're absolutely right. Something I didn't even think about. Levine, maybe try to say, no, I don't want to go to Detroit, so I'm out for the season. Like, I don't know if
And
that,
Detroit's
I
like,
don't
not so
know.
fast.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true. Like, I'm just speculating. But
Right.
the Detroit still pulls the trigger anyway. So obviously Bojan's involved. So Bojan goes to Chicago, and if Ivy or, Stewart or whatever it is goes back to Chicago as well, I think Chicago has to do that.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, a really good move for Chicago. We talked about them kind of being stuck where they are, but if they get like a Jaden Ivey out of this trade and then have like I know Kobe White's been playing really well this year, but if you have like another top prospect on that team without really giving up anything other than Levine, who hasn't really been that great the last couple of years and has been injured a lot. So yeah, I think that'd be a home run for Chicago. So I would still try to explore that if they were talking about that before the Levine
Detroit,
injury.
I don't understand why you think Zach LaVine is the answer to your problems, but if that's what they
I
do, then go ahead, I guess.
Man, I always say this though, like if I'm the Blazers and the Pistons are going to do something dumb, I'd want to be the team that takes advantage of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure there's multiple other teams thinking the same way.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, then if we head over into the West to some teams we haven't talked about, Oklahoma City Thunder are a very interesting team. They have the assets and resources to basically trade for any player they wanted to get, maybe even some players that aren't available. They could just keep upping the price until the other team says yes. Do you see them kind of just going one more year without uh, kind of going all in or whatever? Or do you see them making a move right now and going for it since they're currently tied for the number one seed in the West?
So I know we talked about this early in the year. One target that would have made like a whole lot of sense for them was Lawyer Marketing. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's obviously realistic anymore. The Jazz are still, decent in the plan. So it's weird because Sam Presti, isn't the type of guy, of course he's traded for Carmelo Anthony and Paul George in the past, but he barely had to give up anything for either one of them, I feel like. So obviously he has the assets to pull off anything he wanted. If there's one thing they should do at the deadline is I think they should get another big if possible. Where that comes from, I have no idea. I mean, I know there's like Clint Capella, so if you have Berton's contract, and I mean, if you think Capella, because Oklahoma City is really good
That's
this
not
year.
bad, yeah.
So I think if you can go get some type of big, I think that would be the most ideal thing. I think that's probably what they should do. If there is the ability to go all in on someone that you think takes you over the top, which I don't know if that exists right now, you could do that as well if you're Oklahoma City.
Yeah. I felt like Robert Williams was a perfect fit for them. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen because they're not going to trade for an injured player in the middle of a championship race or whatever. So, but earlier in the season, I thought he would be a really nice fit next to Chet and give them some big man depth. But unfortunately, Robert Williams had to get hurt like he usually does.
Yeah, unfortunate.
And then, yeah, you already talked about the Timberwolves a little bit. Clippers are kind of in a situation. I don't know how much they can do, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made a small move. The Nuggets are kind of in a similar situation. They don't really have a lot of assets, but they're definitely trying to shop for a little bit of help. The Kings, you mentioned, are probably going to trade for someone, probably using Harrison Barnes' contract. Suns are going to try to get as good a player as they can with those second round picks. The Pelicans have been rumored. They were one of the teams that apparently possibly offered 5 first round picks for Mikal Bridges on the Nets, and the Nets turned them down. So they're definitely looking to possibly add some pieces. We've also heard that Herb Jones might be available simply because their roster is going to get really expensive moving forward, and they don't know how long they can keep everyone together, being a small market team. So that might be someone they look to move. But yeah, I don't know. They might have a hard time making a big trade unless they decide to give up on one of their bigger guys. But yeah, I don't know. Dallas is probably a team that's gonna. We talked about their what assets they have. I don't know if they go all in this year or not, being the 8 seed, but they're definitely a team that could make a move. Lakers will probably do something if they keep LeBron. Jazz, I don't really see doing a lot of buying. They're
They
more
could
of a
sell like
seller and then try to keep
Clarkson
it together.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you
Uh,
got a couple teams outside the playoff race, and that's the Houston Rockets and the Golden State Warriors, who I could absolutely see going. The Rockets, much,
just traded for Steven Adams, which we
yeah,
didn't get to talk about, but it's not that significant anyway.
much like the Pistons, I feel like the Rockets could do something dumb sitting there a game out of the play-in, just desperately wanting to make the postseason, and could give up one of their younger guys to do so. And I think that'd be a mistake, but I could definitely see them doing that. They're a team that was rumored for Malcolm Brogdon for a long time. I don't know if they still would be interested or not. And then the Warriors, uh, like, do they just resolve to fate basically, and just realize that it's kind of fading away with Clay not playing well this year and Draymond's situation and Steph not being able to carry that team? They do have Kaminga coming on. I'd be surprised if they traded Kaminga at this point. But they have, I don't know. I don't know what they do, but I feel like they're going to try one last move at some point to try and have one last run with their core. But I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it off or not.
Yeah, so going back to the Pelicans, I think they're one of those teams that outside of the Oklahoma City Thunder, they might have one of the best asset pools as well. It's definitely up there. I don't think they should do anything at the deadline at this deadline. I think they should stand pat and see what opens up in the future because the assets they have could obviously keep getting better and better. I mean, having
Yeah,
those Bucks picks in the future, and you still have, I think they have one more Lakers pick if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
I know they have one. It's an option, so they can either take it this year or they can defer it to 2025 if they wanted to.
So yeah, they have that. So yeah, Pelicans should stand pat. Dallas, as you said, I think they should try to make a move if they can. If they could find a way to get creative with Jeremy Grant and they could get him, that would be a home run. I know they were trying to get Siakam. Grant would be an excellent fit, as we've mentioned several times. And then we had, obviously we ended on the Lakers. The Lakers, they're probably going to do something. LeBron's always going to put pressure, which he's doing at the moment. And then finally, the Rockets. And of course, and then what was it? The Warriors. So the Rockets, yeah, it seems like they're going to try to do something. They just traded for Steven Adams. Apparently, they were going to trade for Robert Williams, but they pivoted to Steven Adams. And then so I don't know what the Rockets are going to do. I could definitely see them doing something goofy for sure. Obviously, they wanted Brooke Lopez in the offseason. They got Fred VanVleet, Jeff Green. So there's a lot of interesting things the Rockets could do. Now, as far as who they're targeting, I would have no clue. But I can see them doing something. I just have no idea what it would be. And the Warriors, probably one of the more interesting teams in the NBA because, of course, it's not working this year. They've won several championships. Bob Myers stepped down because they didn't want to have to deal with this. Do they trade Clay? Do they trade Chris Paul? Do they break up stuff? Kuminga to me has probably played himself to untouchable. He's been very, very good. He's the asset that every team's gonna want if the Warriors are trying to make some kind of upgrade. For the Warriors, I just don't know where that comes from. I just have no idea. As I've said, like seems like every single team is saying, "Oh, which is what they're supposed to say," but every single team's like, "Well, we're not doing anything. We're not moving anyone. Everyone's, we're not interested in moving them." Which again, that's GM speak probably, but like Nets are one of those teams that if you could get someone off Brooklyn, that's what the Warriors should be trying to do. But Brooklyn's maintained they're not interested in doing stuff. So and then Portland with Jeremy Grant. If the Warriors wanted Jeremy Grant for whatever reason, I just don't know how the Warriors upgrade. It's going to be really tough. But obviously, the NBA is a crazy league, and maybe there's someone that gets moved we never foresaw coming. So it's going to be very, very interesting for sure. And then one player I did want to say and talk about, but I just don't know where he gets moved to, if he is to be moved, is DeJounte Murray on the Atlanta Hawks. And there's been a lot of rumors about trying to move him. But the closer we get to the deadline, the closer I feel like he's not going to be moved, just because the Lakers are the one team that would probably get it done. But D'Lo has been just playing really good lately. He was really good tonight as well. Do the Lakers just are like, well, D'Lo's playing great right now, so let's not do anything, right? And then I just don't know what other team would trade for DeJounte Murray. I just have no idea. I couldn't even I was looking at every single team, and I just had no idea. I know Milwaukee has been interested, but there's just no way they have enough. It's
Right.
Yeah, this deadline is shaking up to. I think if it's gonna be exciting, it's going to be also surprising, because it just feels like there's a lot of teams that are checked out and act like they're not going to do anything.
Or no teams do anything and it's a dud.
Yeah, it
That's
could be
certainly
that too,
possible.
which is what I'm a little nervous about for sure.
See, that would make me mad though, because as a Blazer fan, if there's not many players available, and we just talked about all the teams that are going to be desperate to make a move. If we're like refusing to even take offers or trade any of our assets or good players, I just feel like that's such a wasted opportunity in this market right now, because there aren't a lot of teams that are just flat out selling players. So yeah, I feel like it's a good situation to sell in, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be that much of sellers.
Because your sellers in the Eastern Conference are going to be like Chicago potentially, although they've maintained that they may
Maybe.
not do.
Yeah.
So Atlanta, still another team that could sell some pieces off. Brooklyn, again, one of those teams that keeps acting like they're not going to do anything. Toronto has Bruce Brown, which is someone that could be moved as well. You have Charlotte, which Charlotte's going to be trying to take picks by using those expiring contracts they have with Hayward and Lowry, so they could do something as well. Washington has Tyus Jones. They have Kyle Kuzma. If they decided to move him, there's been not a lot of indication I feel like they'll move him. So, like, the Wizards have some pieces. Gafford, if they wanted to move him as well, potentially some team wanted him. Like, like we were hinting earlier, the Thunder. If the Thunder wanted Gafford, I think that would be
that's a good fit.
Not a bad fit there. So that could be interesting. The Jazz have a couple pieces they could sell off, like Clarkson, Kelly Olynyk. Houston, I don't think they're going to sell at all. Warriors, again, I have no idea what they're going to do. The Grizzlies don't really have anybody I feel like they would sell. I just don't know if they really have anything. Of course.
Well, they're another team like we talked about with the Pistons. They're not going anywhere this year with jaw hurt for the year. So do they get just keep trading for players that are injured and but that could help him in the future, like a Robert Williams?
Yeah,
I think that's one of the few teams that I think would still give up assets for him.
And then, of course, there's then us that we have some, a few things that we could send out. Although one of those assets has a no trade clause viable, so we'll see if he even wants to go anywhere, or if he's moved, does he want to go to the team that he's being moved to? And he can't be moved to Dallas this year. It's going to be, because they obviously would probably still be interested. Maybe revisit it in the offseason with them, but so I feel like this could be. It's either, I don't know if there's any in between. I feel like this is going to be an exciting deadline, or I think it's going to be a dud. I don't know if there's an in between. I'm curious to see what happens. Hopefully trades kick off very soon this week. But man, it's going to be an interesting week. I thought we might have gotten a trade today. I was kind of waiting on it just because it would have been my luck after recording a video and then a trade happens. But nothing happened today.
Are you going to be live streaming on Thursday, or?
Yeah, I will be.
Nice.
Right,
and of course, here on Blazers Uprise, we always live stream as well. So make sure you check out at least one of those.
Yeah,
if you're interested.
Sure.
Or switch back, have them both on.
But I think that's it for the trade deadline talk. I guess we can just end this off with who's crushing it, and then we can, obviously do a recap of the deadline in the next episode. So
yeah, for sure.
My first one is Franz Wagner and the Orlando Magic. mean, I watched this guy yesterday drop 38 points on them. Absolutely electric.
With no free throws, right?
Yeah. 19 against Minnesota. You know, before that, he had 20 against the Spurs, 21 against the Mavericks. But mainly put Franz Wagner because I watched him. Yeah, I literally watched him yesterday drop 38 on the Pistons.
Yeah. Tyrese Maxey had 51 the other day in a game where they had hardly anyone playing. So just wanted to mention Tyrese Maxey and his 50 burger.
And the Utah Jazz, when they played the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan Clarkson absolutely broke my heart that night, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, man, prize fix or something.
Yeah, he was the last leg in a 6-man, and I needed one more. It was over 1.5 threes, and he missed. He went 1 for 7. One of the threes he hit was after the shot clock too.
No.
Just absolute disaster. Yeah, it sucked,
Brutal.
Yeah, brutal beat. Yeah.
All right, who's your next guy?
My next guy is well, they're kind of interchangeable, but Donovan Mitchell and Jarrett Allen of the Cavaliers, they got them as the third seed in the East right now. Jarrett Allen's been amazing, and
That should tie for second.
Yeah, they're probably after tonight, huh? After they just beat the Kings. So yeah, they've climbed up in the Eastern Conference standings. They've been fantastic. 26 and 16 on the against the Spurs. He had 19 and 7 tonight. The Kings, they kind of almost like the Kings kind of made it close at the end, but they pretty much blew out the Kings. It felt like. Yeah, Jarrett Allen's been really good. Donovan Mitchell's been really good. The Cavaliers are red hot right now, and they're just getting healthy too with Mitchell and or with Mobley and Garland coming back, and they're still playing on like minutes restrictions. So that
Mitchell's
team,
trying to fight Zach Collins.
Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Yeah, that's a good one. This is a
guy.
guy.
By the way, it's funny because I forgot about that, and I traded for Zach Collins in the Cavs video I did today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, can't beat him, join him, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, man, someone you mentioned last week, I have to mention him again. This guy's been absolutely killing it, and dare I say, he's getting people to start to wonder if this team actually made a good draft selection, and that's Brandon Miller. Had 33 tonight against the Lakers, had 36 in his last game. You talked about all his good games he was having. He had a stretch of 20 plus in several games. Just been absolutely killing it and looking like a star wing, which is a very hot commodity in the NBA, to have wings that can play defense and shoot the ball 3 and D, but can also score off the dribble and do all those things. I think he's looking like the star I thought he would be coming into the draft.
Yeah, he's been great, man. They made a good pick, but thankfully Scoot's coming along as well.
Yeah, for sure.
He was my next one. Scoot Henderson has really come along as of late. Of course, has dropped a couple of 30-point games and electric in that first quarter against the Bucks. Bro, when he took Giannis to the rack and made a bet, I was like, oh my gosh, that was such a fun night. And then dunked it, or I think he drove, and it was just such a fun first quarter for him, and he's been really good. Which I'm glad.
Absolutely.
I'm glad because it was started off a little rough watching him, but he seems like he's getting his confidence going.
Yeah, he looks a lot more comfortable handling the ball too, which is something I was getting worried about early in the season. He was very loose with it, just always seemed to be fumbling it or not being able to dribble it right, and he's gotten that locked in. He's changing his speeds up a little bit, which is helping him get to the rim a little better. He's finishing a little better once he gets there. His 3-point shot looks respectable, and if you knock off his 2 for 20 something at the beginning of the season, he's actually shooting really well from 3 in the mid 30s percentile, which is all you can really ask for someone who wasn't considered a shooter. So yeah, I really like some of his progress right now.
Absolutely.
And then my next guy is, this guy's a pretty good player, but it's Kawhi Leonard. The Clippers have been shooting up the standings. I believe they're now just a half a game out of first. There's a group of teams. The Timberwolves and Thunder are tied. And then you got the the Clippers and the Nuggets. I think it is both a half game back. So it's anyone's ball game still for not only home court advantage, but for the number one seed in the West. And Kawhi Leonard's been absolutely killing it. Last 4 games, he's averaging almost 30 points a game, 8 rebounds, 2 steals on 48% from three. And that team is looking like the team everyone thought they would be when they acquired Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And then they have the added bonus of James Harden scoring now. And Russell Westbrook, for all that he gets made fun of, has actually done a really good job off the bench this year. There's some buzz that maybe he could be in the running for sixth man of the year and stuff like that. So that team is really coming together. Now, injuries will probably derail them like they always do, or just bad playoff performances. But as of right now, they're, I think, a team that no one wants to face in the playoffs.
Yeah, the Western Conference race is very interesting at that top four. But I think that is it. One other note I wanted to sign off with, really exciting if this ends up being true, is apparently Jalen Brown might be in the dunk contest.
Okay, yeah, I saw that.
First time we might have an all-star playing the dunk contest since 2017, apparently. So that would be really cool. Hopefully Shaden, he probably won't be able to actually.
Yeah, his injury is kind of.
Yeah,
I don't even know if it's gonna. He got
invited to
selected to
Rising
the
Yeah.
Rising Stars, but yeah, I don't know if he's gonna be able to play or not.
Yeah, so hopefully you get a nice all-star lineup. Obviously 3-point contestants have been announced a little bit. You got like Maxey, Lillard, Markkanen, I think Halliburton as well. And then I might be missing some other names, but other than
It's gonna
that,
be fun.
thank you
Yeah,
guys for watching.
next week we could talk about all the trades that happened, what our thoughts and reactions were, but also we can it'll be All-Star week, I believe, so we can kind of preview that as well.
All right, sounds good. Sounds like another fun episode around the corner. But thank you guys for watching. As always, we'll see you on the next one. Of course, we're also available on Spotify and Apple, wherever you get podcasts. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you are new to this channel. But other than that, this is Hoops Crush, and peace out. Go Blazers.